Grand finals time here for the Sinister Cup number 2, presented by RUSHgg. Kirk, doobsnax, Dubé, Joe, OmniJoe, Bernard. And we've got a showdown between what we would think would be the perennial favorites here. TTV always seem to find themselves in the finals versus Apes Unleashed, trying to turn the little AOS fields into Planet of the Apes today in this best of 5 against TTV. They've got quite a hill to climb today. Joe.
Yep, best of 5 series, as you said. Lot to sort of overcome here. TTV pretty much accepted, renowned as pretty much the best in the world right now for Unite. So we'll see. They have a few tricks up their sleeve, actually. They're playing quite an interesting lineup. So we'll see how that factors in. Maybe they're aware of the most popular characters in the game and have tried to find a counter strategy here.
Yeah, you know, when you're up against it, sometimes you got to get a little creative to find the edges where you can. And today we're going to be watching from the point of view of Sixies on Apes Unleashed, who is going to be playing Lucario. And we're seeing the little countdown screen as we're going to go into the character select screen and see exactly what these team comps are going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucario is always an interesting one to follow. We've seen the meta develop into almost becoming a second jungler, really. That top lane, you get left on your own. 3 go down bot side. There's normally a jungler in there as well because it's so important to get your Lucario nice and buffed up so that you can take some key objectives, the Rotom and the Dreadnought, of course. So making sure these get well fed in the openings is a nice little interesting interaction, even though there's just pretty much sat out there on their own.
Yeah, this Apes Unleashed team bringing a Mr. Mime and a Pikachu to these finals, and those Pokemon are not seen very frequently, especially the Pikachu. And as we've mentioned, Sixies is going to be riding solo up in that top lane, that Mr. Mime, that Pikachu, and of course Eldegoss going to go bottom.
Yeah, we don't often see the likes of Pikachu as an attacking role, and also Mr. Mime is sort of less conventional as well, as we see, of course. Mirror matching at the top, the 2 Lucarios, scrapping it out, trying to gain some experience. Obviously, Corfish sat in the middle. Oftentimes, these Lucarios can't do enough damage to one another in those opening stages, but we see Sixies trying to get in on the A-bomb and actually might be able to steal it there. And Sixies actually going to go ahead and dunk the 7 by the looks of things, as we see the distraction from TTV.
Yeah, absolutely. Lutano, one of the best top laners, and they've proven it by being on the best team. And now it's all about just getting quick mobs and getting those points turned in as quickly as possible to get your levels up that way. That's another way to gain experience and gain HP back. Lutano leashing at the top, but Chelvin, the Raboot, came in for the assist there, and they're able to take down Lutano. Toon a little late to the call, and they're in there. They're getting pressured a little bit, running back to their own goal zone, and going to try and pressure Sixies back out and get a little space for Lutano to join back in that top lane. The beers are here.
Yeah, really nice timing from Chelvin. I think it prevented Lutano from getting many points in. You can see the goal zone has been attacked a little bit, but not so much as TTV's bucket. So that's always important, as we see they are starting to roll down mid here, get some more Corfish, get some more experience racked up, and it looks like TTV are following suit and coming down south.
Yeah, Sixies, we just saw them pick up Power Up Punch. Now, some conventional wisdom here. Lutano usually goes with E-Speed, to give them advantage in these team fights. But now Sixies with the Power Up Punch. Eldegoss putting a little pressure. We know that's Indie Bear. Toon got the W up there, and now they're pressuring Lutano again. They get it, Lutano again, and now Toon is on the ropes. They're going back down the lane. They're getting frozen up because it's the opposing lane there, and they're going to make a little bit of pursuit. Chelvin closes the door on that, and that leaves Indy closing out with a big leaf tornado onto our Lucario here, and they're going to try and get back into the mix as soon as possible because Chelvin has been doing a lot of heavy lifting in that top lane for them.
Yeah, Sixies just running past Berry, actually. I think getting a little bit fruity, trying to get involved too much. Actually could have remained in the fight if they wanted to, but was trying to defend against the Eldegoss getting points in. So understandable, get straight back into that action. Is actually remaining top lane that little bit longer as we are coming to the 7:30 mark. So 30 seconds until the big objectives start coming. So trying to get as much experience in as possible in a fight with Lutano right now. Chelvin going to come help out as well and get another key KO here.
I don't think Lutano is getting used to pressured that much by the jungler this often in the early parts of the game, and I think we're kind of seeing that as Lutano thinks it's just a one-on-one, and then Chelvin is able to step in and just close the door. Sixies putting a lot of pressure on Indy and Toon, sending them back. Now it's 7:03 on the clock. We know Dreadnought's about to show up, but there's 3 of TTV up top, 2 for Apes Unleashed, and now all of TTV seems to kind of bail down and get a little bit of experience. Indy Bear sticks around. Lutano knows they like to as well. Toon going to try and pick off Sixies. Sixies Sixies, good counter pressure here. Chelvin showing up out of nowhere again and really sending Toon downstairs with no real onus to be able to put some pressure backwards.
Yeah, it looks like the Dreadnought was taken by TTV here. They just didn't have enough DPS come down south. Sixies and Chelvin were north for so long. Actually, the Dreadnought's actually still up here. I thought it was taken, but the fight is just about to break out here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a KO onto Sixies. But as you mentioned, the Dreadnought's here, and just in time, we can't even see. We just Chelvin, of course, late to the party, but bringing the big boom here. The Cinderace able to lock down the Dreadnought, take a KO there on Eldegoss, Indie Bear, and Mr. Mime takes a KO on Lutano, and KO streak of Cinderace for 2, taking out Goof, who's playing Sylveon on the other side of the board. We're watching Sixies. They jumped in the jungle. They're trying to get up. They got to their Unite move. They have Bone Rush. They have Power Up Punch. They're going to be able to close out objectives and really put a lot of pressure on the opposing team.
Yep, going to start picking up some Bs now as well as the rest of the team wraps up north, maybe trying to threaten the Rotom as well here. As the remainder of the team, it's only Indie Bear down here bot right now, so Sixies can easily clean up these Vespies and take them away the easy experience and eat them up for himself. You can see he's got a huge level advantage on Lutano here. This one-on-one is going to only go one way, and it actually forces Lutano backwards a little bit here. So really some good zoning going on from Sixies, and the Rotom has been sent down the lane as well for them, so potentially even more scoring potential.
Yeah, we just saw Pikachu there take a 2 KOs back to back, and Sixies just really bubbling out Lutano, keeping them from getting too many levels too quickly, trying to keep them from closing the gap here. And it's a Unite move that went the wrong way, and you just hate to see that. That is a big Unite move going the wrong direction. Toon coming in to support Lutano, sending Sixies scrambling, trying to meet up with their team, and he says, nope, Bone Rush in. Let's see if I can close the door on one of them before I get taken out. And such is not the luck as Lutano and Toon are able to bubble them out and close the door on it.
Sixies was looking in complete control, then just goes ahead and spends the Unite move the wrong direction, gets caught out of position at that point when there's a double up on him. So a bit of wasted effort there, but still at the end of the day, keeping Lutano and Toon away from scoring range and all that good stuff, keeping you away from mid as Dreadnought is about to come up. So we start seeing Chelvin and Sixies make their way down to join the rest of their team here. Everyone is involved, ready for this big scramble.
Yeah, if you're Sixies, you got to keep your head on a swivel. You can't let the fact that Unite move went the wrong direction keep you off your game here. There's a lot of work to be done, and your team's looking pretty good here. So Sixies going to look around, get some picks with that power-up punch, focusing in on Lutano yet again. Don't want them to give them... That's another Unite move sent into into the ether there by Lutano. So balancing up the frame there. Zugrug, known for their last hits on those heavy slams, able to seal up Dreadnought, but the pressure on is on Toon, and Sixies isn't going to let them off the hook too easy. Xeris there to pick up the support, trying to Leaf Tornado them down. That ranged attack might help. Toon just gets chipped off by the Eldegoss. You love to see it. Sixie's going to run back through the goal zone, and I'm interested to see where they head. And that is back to base on that enormous little punk in there. A little bit past Halloween, but the vibe still carries because it is fall.
Yeah, for the majority of members right now, all up at that top lane, fighting for Rotom by the looks of things, at least engaging it here. Might be a bit of a team fight about to break out as we see not a lot of action going down bot lane. 40 points that could get scored in a few seconds, but there is actually the Sylveon here defending right now for Sixies. So just making sure that no one's left out of position here. And he's also going to try and power up some punches here and threaten the Sylveon very aggressively, actually. And we start seeing Greninja start coming in to defend, and another Unite move coming in, this time hitting the mark, but not going to make a huge difference as it is going to get knocked out, and some easy buckets here down that bottom lane for TTV.
Yeah, we just saw that Apes Unleashed does have a big lead on this game, but the thing is you want to secure that because 2 minutes and 38 seconds on the clock is still plenty of time for a team as potent as TTV to come back and close the door on it in your face. Now, Lutano just goes down. That's a key member of the TTV squad. And you can kind of see all of Apes Unleashed are just railing through their jungle, trying to get their levels up here, trying to make sure that they are prepared for this final Zapdos fight. You know, critical that Sixies gets a third Unite move ready for that huge point in the game that is called Zapdos.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have a ton of members with maximum points here as well, ready to score. So it does seem like they may want to pounce on this Zapdos and at least defend it. At the very least of the situation here, as we see Snorlax is going to be camping out middle, trying to zone out in the middle zone here. At the moment, Lucario not wanting to get involved too early. There's a lot of damage going down in that middle lane. There's also Lucario for Lutano. There's Indie Bear Toon trying to get involved down this bottom lane. There's still berries up for Sixies, so that's a real big deal here to stay defending quite easily and putting a lot of damage onto Indie Bear and Toon here, not giving up this objective.
Yeah, Sixie's doing a lot of work, but here we go. I mean, you saw Goof. They scrambled up 3 players from Apes Unleashed up out away from Zapdos. Now Sixie's has been stuck in their own goal zone by Toon and Indie Bear themselves, and now RUSHgg is backing on a little bit of pursuit here. Goof there going to jump back across and follow the Cinderace, follow the Eldegoss back into the middle, follow the Pikachu, and, you know, Sixies has been kept away from the action, and that's exactly where they want this Lucario to be. If you're TTV, Toon has done a great job, and you almost feel like that's their role. Like, get this Lucario away from what we're trying to do. And here's Indy again with that support. Zante coming in, and that's a good little Pikachu putting in some attacks. We see a little bit of Unite move by Indie Bear, going to chase down both Zante and Sixies. Toon going to come in and throw a couple shurikens into the mix. That's a Leaf Tornado, and Sixies is chasing him down. Maybe eyeing on Indie Bear, and there's Toon with a Unite move, and that dials right in onto the Pikachu. Mr. Mime is down for Apes Unleashed, and now Indie Bear is chasing. Sixies goes down to the potent Indie Bear, and here we go. That's 3 down for TTV, now 2 because of the respawn. Only 2 down on Apes Unleashed. It's pretty balanced. 27 seconds left, but 2 of the goal zones have been closed out during that fight, Joe.
Yeah, Lutano getting in 94 points as well for TTV. I think there's not going to be enough time for the Zapdos, not enough members, not enough DPS really for Apes Unleashed to actually deal with the Zapdos. They're coming in now, trying to get as much in as possible as Sylveon scores down bot lane. That can get disrupted by the Lucario here, fortunately. RUSHgg trying to get in any points that it can here, but it comes down to these last few seconds, and I don't think there's enough points for Apes Unleashed here.
Yeah, RUSHgg hitting into that thing and not even starting the timer to score some points. Let's see how it shakes out. TTV closing it up, and you got to think that's got to be on the strength of leaving those second-tier goal zones. And I'm not saying it was necessarily their strategy. You do like to close the bottom one out during Dreadnought so that they don't have those berries or have those berries for Zapdos. However, what does that do? That allows for small windows to be big converts when the points are doubled up, and that's exactly what happened. You didn't really see any tidal wave of pressure from TTV. It was just a little bit of scramble here, a little bit of scramble there. Lutano cheesing one in for 94 up top. They take a big KO on Sixies to Lucario, and then when it's time to flip onto Zapdos, guess who's down? Their biggest closer on those objectives, that Lucario with the power-up punch.
Sixies is such an important character. Like you said, when you're behind in a game, Lucario is your main way to flip that switch and take the Zapdos out. And when Sixies is away from the action, scared to engage because there's too many people in a team fight, when you feel that you're getting engaged too often by the combination of Indie Bear and Toon, sometimes even RUSHgg getting involved there as well, it just means that you're put off your objectives and you're having to go back to base over and over again. We saw Sixies get KO'd a few times, and it just meant that he couldn't be as effective as he wanted to be in those last few seconds.
Joe, if I could bring your attention back into right when Zapdos was there, the first thing we saw happen was Goof show up to the middle and then peel up top. That pulled 3 players from Apes Unleashed to follow them. And what did that leave? That left Sixies down south trying to join into the fray and then getting cut off immediately by both Toon and Indy, who, as I mentioned, it seemed like that was their team's goal. They said, Indy, Toon, you need to sort out Sixies, this Lucario, and you need to isolate them out of this. We'll handle the rest. And that's exactly what they do. You're sent on a rat race to chase up Goof. Sylveon, stayed alive, wasn't taken down. They were able to isolate Sixies long enough to get a KO on them when everybody came back down. And what did that open the door for? Lutano, 94 points. What did I open the door for? Goof later on in the bottom for 84 points. Not non-disruptable, just at the very last second. It was a scramble at the end, but once again, TTV shows you can really turn the tides with some clean, just clinical play in the last 2 minutes. Game 2, Sinister Cup number 2, presented by RUSHgg. Kirk, doobsnax, Dubé, Joe, OmniJoe, Bernard. TTV ekes out a Game 1 win in the last 2 minutes with some very interesting play, really dividing up the Apes Unleashed squad, who is really landsliding that whole time. Game 2, what do you want to see, Joe, out of Apes Unleashed to bring some parity to this scoreboard?
Well, I think they were in the race the whole time. I think they were doing pretty well. They had a really good start, actually. Sixies and Shelvin had a really good opening in that top lane and had a bit of advantage on Lutano, who was struggling in that opening. But it really came down to those last couple of minutes where they were exchanging KOs on Pokemon, but most importantly, TTV's members that weren't getting KO'd still had points to score and were able to find the openings to actually put those in, whereas the players for Apes Unleashed, they weren't able to find those moments to actually peel off and, unengage from a team fight. They were so focused on that they weren't able to get their critical points in towards the end. So we'll see if that can change up as we kick off this game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I'd like to see out of this game, too, is a little bit more action and impact from Talibobo on Apes Unleashed, the Mr. Mime. We've seen a clean Mr. Mime can bring a lot of headaches to the opposing team and really cut off certain lanes and aspects of what their strategy is actually trying to entail, and sometimes it's kind of predictable. So I'd love to see Talibobo really make their mark here in Game 2 and help elevate Apes Unleashed to bring this series to 1-1. But here we go. Sixies and Lutano chipping away at each other there in the top lane, just trying to take the mobs, almost ignoring each other. Sixies trying to peel to the goal zone, maybe not steal the APOM there, as they are just scrambling around each other.
Yeah, Sixies actually runs past his initial 2 APOM as well. They're still waiting for himself or Chelvin to come and steal. So able to grab that Corphish, I think possibly even able to steal an APOM away from Lutano. So getting nice and buffed up. It's always important for the Lucarios to get as much XP as possible. That's why you often see a 1-1-3 splits, 3 down bot, and Sixie is really left here with Chelvin for the majority of the time. And they've been able to mop up everything pretty swiftly here and start engaging Lutano.
Yeah, and that makes, what does that do? That forces Toon to peel up early, and normally Toon does not want to be here in this top lane with Lutano. Lutano used to carrying this by themselves pretty efficiently, and now Lutano on the verge of going down, being bullied out, and Chelvin has been very effective in being an impactful member and turning the tides of that top lane. Lutano, fortunately enough for them, not getting caught with their pants down 2 games in a row, not getting KO'd as early as they did last time. Lutano putting the chase on, still behind a level, and they're going to try and use their score shield here to leverage the difference. Sixie's good damage output there, able to keep them from doing that, and that sends Lutano scrambling. Sixie's putting the pressure on, wants to close out this KO before the heals come up, and Lutano gets eaten alive by Sixie's. That persistence, you love to stick with it. Normally, some players would say, okay, I'm going to give up the KO, guarantee my points in, but Sixie's saw an opening and took it, and that's 30 big points going straight into the goal zone. There's another 5, and Sixie is now eating up all of these APOMs.
Yep, getting some free experience there as well. So now having a big level advantage on Lutano, 1 whole level and almost towards that 7. And Chelvin already the Cinderace coming in actually does allow the Lutano to score, but it means that Toon is actually going to get KO'd here, and Sixies can continue to get more points in.
Yeah, Toon came in, got KO'd by Chelvin, and what did that do? Sixies didn't even start attacking to help out. They went straight for the goal zone and just completely gave up. That's another KO by Chelvin on Lutano. Chelvin is very clean, very impactful, no wasted movements, and they are not missing out on the levels here. Already level 8 with 7 minutes and 17 seconds left to go in this one, and all the Bees seem to be going that way too. Look at Indie Bear now rolling up from the bottom lane, all the way up from the bottom lane, trying to put in some pressure, and the Bees went all to Apes Unleashed, and they're landsliding this top lane again, just like they did in Game 1.
I'd love to see Sixies and Chelvin get south at this point. They have such a ridiculous advantage. You have to put them ahead to grab this Dreadnought. They can ignore Rotom here. They need to make their levels count and take this first Dreadnought, because they're a little bit late to the party right now, as I think TTV are already assembled down there.
Yeah, and there's Talibobo there. This is where I want to see them make an impact. You see Zugrug is literally just posted up to the side, know they can eat some damage, and they're going to try and go for the heavy slam finish. That's just what they do. And isolated and identified Talibobo and Chelvin able to close the door, and this is going to be a clean Dreadnought here for Apes Unleashed, as we saw TTV was already working on Rotom and sent that down the lane, but it doesn't matter when you're scoring a million in the bottom lane there, closing out the first goal zone, going for the second one, and Team Zugrug just a little too slow with that heavy slam, as Sixie is able to get their points, and that's a 5-on-1 there. They don't even care about Rotom, and that's just more points getting rained in, and finally a Unite move by Sixie sent into the ether there, chipped and in to Toon and Indy, but nobody's worse for wear, as nobody went down, and you hate to see it as somebody that uses to, as you're an attacker, when you use your Unite move, you fire it down the lane, you don't really get anything for that expenditure there, but that's a KO on Indie Bear. Now Toon finally finds their way into Sixie's grill and closes it down, sending them back to their spawn point.
This has been a really interesting game already. Apes Unleashed going very aggressively down that bottom lane, not just sort of going back to your own areas as soon as you've taken that Dreadnought and making those shields count. They've just continued an onslaught down bottom. A lot of goals going in, leaving the top lane, of course, though. The Rotom came down, a few free goals for TTV as well. So Both of them are sort of closing that gap of experience now. An objective going to each member here. Sixies back in the jungle, trying to pick up some more experience and get into those double digits.
Yeah, I'm not even convinced they're really intending to go back into the jungle, but just saw that Lutano had piled up on their map and was peeling into the middle there and thinking, well, maybe I'll leave the top lane for a second and just see what's going on over here. Sixies picking up just some more mobs, getting those levels up, rebuilding that Unite move. Sixies did manage to have the opportunity to use 3 last game, and that kind of seems to be the magic number for these Lucarios now, and that's definitely important. The more Unite moves, the better, as that is the strongest attack available to your Pokemon. And there's Lutano just dunking into Sixies' face. Sixies breaking it up. And interesting to see here, I don't think Lutano has the score shield as they normally carry. That's something that I've been so used to seeing them have. And Sixies was able to just close that down with an auto attack. Indy Bear getting chewed up. And that's a Unite move by Zarin, I think, to go ahead and take care of Indy Bear. And there you go. Indy Bear goes down on TTV. Lutano goes down on TTV. Dreadnought's getting eaten up. And here we go, Lucario and Zante onto the Rotom to send that down the lane.
Yeah, it looks like most DPS up top lane here, pretty much just stranding their own members for TTV to eat up the Dreadnought, maybe stealing some time away with Talibobo and Zervus right now. But Lutano is going to come in, start engaging the Rotom at this stage. Doesn't want to give any more free buckets away. So is going to engage the Rotom pretty early in the lane. And we see Six is going to try and use this to this advantage and actually does get a KO and can score immediately. 40 points straight away. Zugro going to back off as well, as it looks like Apes Unleashed are regrouping down that bottom lane and really just feeding on some mobs down their own zones here, not getting too aggressive and just sort of mopping up everything that they have in their path.
One thing I want to note here is Rotom was buffed recently as Dreadnought was debuffed, and one of the buffs to Rotom was that attack power, and you'd like to think Sixies in conjunction with the Rotom going down the lane is what really edged them out, because they were the same. They were at a level parity there, Joe, and that Rotom, I think, just edged out that damage output for Sixies to able to close the door and get those points in. So all in all, pretty clean look there in the top lane.
Yeah, and looking like both teams aren't really going aggressively zonally. They're just trying to eat up mobs on their own parts of the map right now. A bit of a conversion in the middle here. Sixies getting fruity with Indy Bear and Zugrug. Goof in here as well, trying to get some extra damage in. Sixies needs to be careful here, because it's getting to that moment where it does become punishing when you start getting knocked out, but is still engaging here. Chelvin and Zervus and Talibobo all coming in to help out, making Sixies work not in vain, and is going to try and stop the Snorlax getting some points in as well. Too late, unfortunately. Big points by Zugrug, who is probably going to go down here, but it's going to be worthwhile by the looks of things, as the rest of the team are finally finishing off that Snorlax. But we're getting to that critical point where there's a couple big objectives coming onto the map. The points are close. There's a lot of Pokemon with gluts of points to score as well, and there aren't many easy buckets. It's going to be difficult for Apes to try and defend their bottom lane turret here.
You know, you're exactly right. It's, as we mentioned, those outermost ones are good for easy and a lot of points after that 2-minute marks hits. And I think Sixies is just sitting there, maybe trying to back cap cheese before the Zapdos becomes a big objective here. And that's a Unite move fired down the lane, straight into Goof, straight into Toon. And now they're down, but they're down for a pretty good amount of time. It is just a skirmish in the bottom lane. And keep the camera on them there, folks, so we can watch Zugrug coming into Talibobo. Talibobo with the confusion back into the wall. And now all of Apes Unleashed is scrambling, but that bottom turret is still there. All of the top ones closed out on Apes Unleashed, and that's a very bizarre field dynamic that they're going to have to contend with as Zapdos is on the field, and I think Zugrug is just peeling straight to the center, straight back down. So many people glutted with points. That's a block there as Talibobo throws a wall up, trying to really isolate and defend that turret, or that goal zone, as you mentioned. That's a Toon with a Unite move coming in. Everybody's going down, and that's, that Jervis just went down, and now we're focusing on Sixies. Sixies coming in. Indy Bear with a KO. Or excuse me, not Indy Bear with a KO. Zervus with a KO. And now we're scrambling. That's a Unite move from Indy Bear back into the other team. I mean, the action is everywhere. Lutano's down, and that's who you want to close out. And there's Indy Bear going down at the hand of Sixies. Sixies chasing, and now Toon's on them. Toon takes them out, and they're out for 27 seconds. 3 of them are down. This is it. This is TTV's time to push onto the Zapdos. And Zugrug going straight to score, not even helping take the KO. Chelvin going to try and stop them, but that's not going to happen on the Chonky Boy. And Chelvin reeling back up, going to try and steal the Zapdos, because I think that's the only chance they have. Bubbled out by Goof, who's putting the pressure on, but they might be able to close it out on Goof and pressure back up. Talibobo is back in, but that's too late because TTV has snatched it, and we're going to see where all these points go. RUSHgg coming up down the lane, they're going to have to try and cut them off, and I'm interested to see if Sixies goes to try to get some points in, or if they're trying to play some defend. Toon got the W, goes down, but I don't think that was before they got their points in, and we're already holding to vote to concede here, as Sixies has no interest in that, as they're just scrambling around and saying, let's take this thing all the way to the wire.
Yeah, huge team fight win for TTV there. As you said, some critical KOs there, including Sixies as well, so I mean, a huge barrel load of points coming in after that Zapdos, of course. But the game was won as soon as we saw 3 members of Apes Unleashed get those knockouts. You know, TTV really pushing aggressively. A lot of well-timed Unite moves there by Toon for certain. Dubé getting involved as well. Goof, a lot of great use of their Unite moves in that late game. It allowed them to overcome Apes Unleashed, even though they had berries and their own goal zone. They were out of position, but they still got over the line there with enough time just about for Zapdos, so they were able to score immediately afterwards and punish, as you saw RUSHgg as well, getting his own points in, doing his own thing, chilling out and scoring those goals. But yeah, again, great late game from TTV. I think that's the story of the first 2, really. Apes Unleashed have been right at it. They've come out the traps very early, really clean early game from them. But TTV just know how to close. They are just ruthlessly efficient, knowing when to get involved into team fights. It didn't happen all that often. TTV actually lost an early team fight after the initial Dreadnought, and it was looking pretty dicey for them. Apes were definitely in control at that point, but they really brought it back, TTV. And I think the sort of gimmick that we saw Sixies go for, sort of waiting in the grass, trying to get that sort of cheesy points, didn't really pay off too much. I think if you position Sixies around the Rotom, around the Dreadnought in that late game, that's again where you can get the most value out of him. So I think sort of one big misstep from Sixies there may have cost the game.
Yeah, they were out for the first 20 seconds of Zapdos, and that's tough sledding when your teams are facing off against another team of this caliber. Question for you, Joe. Thoughts on the strategy, whether intentional or not, of TTV closing out the 2 tiers of goal zones at the top, but leaving all of the bottom ones intact? Thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was just because of how aggressive Apes Unleashed were pushing the bot lane on their own side. So they were basically just doing a mirror. I think the defenders for TTV were trying to slow down Apes Unleashed, where Lutano and Toon, they were happier just to score on the top lane and sort of release that parity. So they're at least getting their own points in while they can't really get involved in the team fight. They had a level disadvantage, and there was already the shields for the Dreadnought on Apes. So just sort of let that timer tick down and then go back to farming afterwards. So really just based on how Apes pushed, that's the best reaction TTV could have gone for.
One more question for you, Joe. Do you think when your furthest out goal zone is still intact when it comes to Zapdos, that those berries and close return back heals are kind of a false sense of security, kind of a fake crutch, if you will, because it peels you away from what you actually want to be doing for the safety of maybe that quick heal, but that opens up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, the DPS gets so high that it's not like a huge deal to get those berries, but it's still a bit of a blanket, and it gives you those little bit of panic heals if you are just reaching, and it can actually bring, TTV members like too far out of the mix as well, and it can force Unite moves in like awkward places rather than like in a mob sort of situation. So it's like a small advantage, but not like a huge deal. And as you saw, it didn't come into effect when TTV were able to overcome Apes Unleashed even in their own goal zone.
Yeah, well, that double-edged sword cuts both ways, as that gives an easy and close goal zone for those double point scores within the last 2 minutes. So TTV is up 2-0. This is a best of 5. Apes Unleashed up against it. And we've seen this scenario before, you and I, Joe, where TTV is up 2 in a best of 5, and they just hammer the door closed in the face of their opponent here, proving why they're one of the best. Anything you want out of Apes Unleashed here for Game 3 to kind of, again, get themselves back in the mix and try to win 3 on the hop to become your Sinister Cup number 2 champions?
I think specifically the second game, it was Apes Unleashed to lose, really. They were in such a commanding position after the first 5, and maybe even you could say after the first 7 or so minutes. They were in really good shape. I think Sixies got a little bit carried away, just trying to score like greedily and then get back into the fight when really it's defense. TTV have proven this, and that's why they're one of the best teams, because they're so good on the back foot as well as like pushing on a lead. Whereas Apes Unleashed didn't really know what to do with their lead in that sort of instance. They didn't really put the pressure on. Just defend Zapdos was all they had to do at that stage. whereas Sixies was kind of getting fruity and sort of abandoned his own teammates for like 10 seconds and then died. And that's like pretty awkward. And obviously, we're only highlighting Sixies because that's the character we're following. But I'm sure if they mobilized and actually gave a better go of it, of just turning it into one team fight to win, they're going to have a better time in the next game. So I think that's going to be their strategy because they're really coming out the blocks well and fighting the objectives very nicely.
So we'll see if they switch up their strategy for Game 3 or maybe even some character changes here, as they need to win 3 on the hop to take down these grand finals against TTV. We'll be back with Game 3 action. Game 3 action on the horizon between TTV and Apes Unleashed. TTV up 2-0 in this grand finals best of 5. Apes Unleashed back against the wall, got to win 3 on the hop, but we're watching the point of view of Sixies, the top laning Lucario, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. TTV been here many times before. As long as they don't go into cruise control at this point, it should be their tournament. They've played very well in those first 2 opening games. For Apes Unleashed, they've kept them in it in the opening few minutes, but it's really been those closing stages of the game where it's sort of come apart. They really need to stick together as a team and fight TTV on their fronts a little bit more, because they have been picked off and separated a little bit so far. So we'll see if that can turn around in this third game.
Absolutely. I want to see a big game again out of Chelvin. They've had 2 big games. I'd like to see a third. I think there's going to be a key component in this. And of course, we saw a little bit more of Tali Bobo in that second game. And I think they're really a key to this puzzle here if they're going to win 3 on the hop. Sixies dodging those 2 APOMs, putting the pressure on coming in. And we were taking a quick look. They do have Razor Claw and attack weight on Sixies, which is why getting those points in convert to damage output and why they were running to the goal zone. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lutano is spec'd out similarly. Here we go. Little bit of a clash back and forth. Lutano does have the experience lead, despite them both being level 3 here, as Lutano goes into the grass. I'm not convinced they've left as they try and pluck out that APOM, and they do.
Yeah, pretty good from Lutano there. Has been bullied in the first opening games, really. Sixies and Chelvin have locked down this top lane in the early stages quite well, but Lutano defending a little bit better this time around. Sixies is going to just mop up those APOMs that he's run straight past in all 3 of these games so far. Chelvin just hanging out in his goal zone, going to help deal with this Corfish as well real quick, as not too much in terms of team fighting right now, apart from Sixies and Lutano in those opening stages. So we'll see how this develops, as looks like Toon is also here for the ride.
Yeah, and this is just a big contestant over the bees here as Sixies gets up to level 5 and gets that power-up punch. Chelvin putting a little pressure onto, I believe it was Toon there, and Toon coming back in, wanting for a little bit more smoke, and Sixies is content on delivering that as Lutano comes in on Sixies, and they're going to try and close the door on them, but no avail. Power-up punch comes in, doesn't close the door on Lutano. They're able to grab some berries as Sixies is scrambling back to their goal zone. Power-up punch dives in, Meteor Mash, putting the pressure on Lutano, but now getting caught a little bit on the back foot. Lutano putting the pressure on, but here's Chelvin. Chelvin coming in with the big assist, allowing Sixies to chip in and get that KO, and that's a 30 dunk for not only the attack weight, but a little bit of chip in on that goal zone.
That's why straight away you're seeing Sixies come straight back, go ahead and score. Even if it is 5, it's worth it. Perfectly timed before Lutano was able to come back and defend himself. He's going to have to be happy just taking out an APOM, and is going to try and fight Sixies for it as well here in that top lane. You see Sixies slight level advantage and a lot of hit points advantage here in a bit of a fight, as Lutano going to come in, close the gap with a huge focus punch, I think it was. But it looks like Sixies was able to finish that out and get enough hit points to stay away from Indie Bear here, munches some berries, as Chelvin is also going to come in and defend.
Yeah, Sixies a great play there on Lutano, and now makes it out to be able to pressure on Toon after Toon takes out Chelvin, who's been a thorn in their side to say the least. But the bad news about that is Sixies gets bullied off by the 3 players from TTV off of the bees and don't get any of them. So now they need to prioritize getting these APOMs, and that's taken by Lutano. And now you see the shifts tide, the shifts in the tide a little bit in that top lane as Lutano is able to get more of that experience. And here we go, going to try and dunk in 30 and leave that goal zone at 15. Dreadnought has been started half HP, but they're not down there. They're working down, and Zugrog's looking to close the door. No matter. Greninja on Toon, go ahead and locks it up before Sixies can even make it down to sniff that turtle.
Yeah, certainly late to the party there. Sixies only getting to basically the middle of the map by the time the Dreadnought was taken out. And we see it's basically everyone from Apes Unleashed going back, basing even, and just trying to stop the flow from TTV, who are now making their way into jungle of Apes Unleashed as well here. Sixies left to his own devices to take out this Rotom, though, can send it down the lane, can also mop up this Apom real quick and get some more goals in, as we finally see the first goal zone does go down, and we are going to see the rest of the team. They are down south by the looks of things, just getting some points in. Sixie has really been uncontested in this top lane. TTV are completely ignoring it right now. It's not their objective at all. And it looks like they're trying to break out some fights in the center here, with Indie Bear getting a little bit fruity in the opponent's jungle.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Sixies didn't try and close out that goal zone that only had 15 on it, then send Rotom down the line, try and get some cheap ones on that second tier. But Toon here to cut off Sixies and seal up the big B, and that's a big deal, as Chelvin doesn't take too kindly to that, because Goof and Toon are there, and Chelvin kicked a couple soccer balls to fend them off, give Sixies some time to get that back crab and get back into the mix.
Looking like Apes Unleashed are taking a very defensive stance this game. They aren't really laying much of a glove on TTV, who have really engaged down that bottom lane and are really pushing Apes Unleashed back right now. Some goal zones have gone down, and they're continuing the fight here and completely, again, ignoring the top lane. It looks like Toon is going to stop Sixies here, getting those 3 points. Sixies is going to go ahead and use that Unite move, not to a great effect, as we now see Goof going to come in with Sylveon and actually take that KO before the Lucario can make its getaway here, just before Dreadnought reappears as well. So again, out of the fight, should be able to peel down fairly soon, though. So we'll be back in time for it by the looks of things.
Yeah, Sixies should be able to get into the mix. Well, maybe not, because they're burning that thing down real quick. And that's Unite move. But Indie Bear is able to take it. That's 2 Dreadnoughts for TTV, and Sixies able to come in, and they got to close the door on a lot of these opponents here to really make their presence felt. But instead, they're getting caught 3-on-1, and that's a big wall they got stuck behind by RUSHgg, and that's 2 KOs for Lutano, and you hate to see a Goof getting a KO there on the Pikachu. And now everybody's kind of just left to their devices, like, do we go up? Do we get mobs? Are we supposed to level? Lutano is literally hanging out in our jungle, just trying to pick us off one by one. And you see Indie Bear was hiding in the grass up top. Sixie's like, I guess I'll just take this crab and see what's going on. Indie Bear might get isolated, might get picked off. They make it into the middle, and Lutano's going to try and Sixie's going to try and cut them off, but has to contend with Goof and Indie here, and is forced to just peel off and head towards that bottom goal zone. Goof in pursuit, power up punch into the mix. Goof now reeling, using hyper voice, backing up, getting into their goal zone, get a little bit of heals. Now the pressure's going back the other way. Sixies power up punch, putting the pressure back on Goof, who loops back in, gets a little HP pressure back on Sixies, who's on the heavy retreat. And this is the longest chase I've ever seen in a Pokemon Unite match. Finally, Goof peels away after a hyper voice to no one, and Sixies sent back to base, as they're going to go back downstairs and leave everybody up top to do their own stuff, as they're focused on leveling.
Yeah, TTV have been engaging Apes Unleashed heavily this game, not allowing anyone time to breathe at all. Sixies has been basically solo playing this game this entire time. Wherever his team is, he isn't, until this moment right here. We can bundle in on Goof by the looks of things, who does go down here. Maybe they can overwhelm and get some points in. RUSHgg going to try and make that difficult for him. Indie getting involved as well. There are still some Unite moves to be used here. Sixies may have to try and time that nicely as well before Zapdos, and see if he can get it recharged by that point, as the turret does finally go. Rotom was sent down that top lane as well, so there are still some points being scored, although the top lane is being taken here by TTV, and I think some points were taken in, and TTV got out of there quick. But they really need to mobilize again. We're getting to that stage in the game where it's sort of capitulated for Apes until this moment, and it looks like the mob right now are down bot lane. But again, Sixies not really helping the team out too much on these objectives, although it does look like they were still able to take Dreadnought, as Sixies does have that shield right now.
Yeah, they were able to take Dreadnought with just enough time, and that'll carry a little bit, hopefully, into Zapdos here, as Sixies putting the pressure on Lutano. They're both level 13. Lutano with a little bit of experience advantage, and I think TTV feels they're more comfortable in the team fight, so let's bring the pressure on and let's take those down. Now, Sixies sitting in the grass here, playing a little bait and switch type game as Tally Bobo is waiting, and Sixies might be the impetus to kick this thing off as Tally Bobo follows them into the center immediately. Sixies got their eye on Lutano, really keeping them out of the center here as Goof is prioritizing. At first we thought Sixies, but then peels back down, and we've got a bizarre split where nobody's really willing to engage. Finally, RUSHgg says, I'm tired of this heavy slam. Sixies finds their opening power-up punch, misses. Toon is going what looked like for a back cap there, peels back into the middle, and now they've got the distance attack here, and that's a unite move for poor Sixies that went the wrong way. Indie Bear gets chewed up, RUSHgg gets chewed up, and now Sixies getting into the mix on Lutano. They're going to try and take them down. They do. That's a big KO by Tally Bobo. You wanted them to step up, Kirk. They just did, delivering on your request here, and Indie Bear able to take KO on their Aldegast counterpart, but the chase does not stop on Toon. That's 2 down. That's a 36 seconds left on Greninja there, 52 seconds left on the clock. They're going to try and burn down this Zapdos. Here comes RUSHgg. You know exactly what they're going to do.
Wow.
Tally Bobo with the isolation. Heavy slams too early, and there you go. Kelvin takes it down. Zapdos, and now it's a mad scramble. Apes Unleashed are in fact unleashed all over their side of the board, and they all need to get their points in to swing this disadvantage back into their favor. Let's go.
Yeah, taking down that Zapdos at the opportune moment. RUSHgg wasn't able to steal with that heavy slam by the looks of things, and everyone goes ahead, gets their points in, can fend off Indie Bear here as well, and just keep TTV away from their goal zones. There's only a couple remaining, so there you go. More knockouts being scored as well. The defense is going to go down here. Not enough time for anyone really to get any more points in. Lutano going to go down by Sixies here. Why not while you're at it?
3 words, Joe. Pad the stats. Let's get it. 2 seconds left on the clock. Let's get out of here. This one's got to go to Apes Unleashed, right? They've got to feel good how that last 2 minutes went. Bang.
Wow, that is a close game as well. Even though Zapdos went down, that was a very, very close game. I think it was 11-point difference or something like that. Absolutely insane. But like you said, they stuck together in those last few minutes. Tally Bobo with some big KOs in that team fight there. And they had just enough time to turn around on Zapdos, a few knockouts for TTV, and it just meant they had the members in the right places ready to just overwhelm Zapdos and go ahead and have the time to score themselves.
Great point. Something you want to identify that is something that Apes Unleashed is going to have to keep in the back of their mind for this game 4 if they are going to employ a similar strategy, the back cap. And if there's anybody that can play on the back foot, you mentioned it, it's TTV, and they know when to flip the roles. I've only seen them flub that maybe once, where actually it was you and I commentating. It was a month and a half ago where they kind of got caught in the middle after they lost Zapdos, and half tried to attack, half tried to go to the goal zones. They seem to have sorted that out because they took what was a 300-point swing and turned it into an 11-point game despite losing Zapdos. So I just want Apes Unleashed to keep that in the back of their mind as they continue their quest to win 2 more on the hop to take down this best of 5 in the reverse sweep. Sinister Cup number 2 presented by RUSHgg. I'm excited for game 4. Joe, we will be right back with that action. Game 4 is knocking on our door. Kirk, doobsnax, Dubé, Joe, OmniJoe, Bernard, and this is the RUSHgg Sinister Cup number 2. Apes Unleashed trying to win 2 more on the hop, complete the reverse sweep for the first time against TTV in the grand finals of this tournament. What did they do right in Game 3 that they need to convert into Game 4 into Game 5 and complete the sweep?
Well, they won a really vital team fight in those last few stages, and it meant that they were right in the perfect place, really, to win the team fight. They're doing it in the complete center of the area, so you can deal with Zapdos immediately as soon as you catch those key knockouts. TTV really in that third game played quite differently to their first 2, where they almost, had their chests puffed out. They were really enthusiastic and almost flaunting by just, jungling in their lane and stuff like that, and really pushing aggressively the entire game. And it was working out for them for the majority of the time, but it did open up that window for Apes Unleashed to take the Zapdos. And in the end, that was the difference in Game 3. So we'll see if they can keep the momentum going, Apes Unleashed here in this Game 4.
Yeah, just a great team fight, as you mentioned, and just a gem to watch here. And if TTV wasn't humbled, they sure as heck got humbled in Game 3 here, as Sixies is working up the lane, and for the first time, I think, attacking these A-Poms here. We've seen them leave them by the wayside, which lets Lutano put a lot of pressure and is in the front half of that top lane, but it doesn't matter. Sixies is able to take the A-Pom on their side. Lutano putting a lot of pressure, going to score, and we believe that is to start boosting up that attack weight. Sixies themselves going to go score, get their attack weight online up a layer, if you will, as they're going back into this ape palm.
Yep, you take yours, I'll take mine, that sort of thing. So there you go, more scores coming in for Sixies, and Lutano doing the exact same thing. On the other side of the map is going to go back to his own APOM at this point. Chelvin coming in, not too much he can do outside of help with a Corefish that's about to come up in a few seconds. Sixies is ready for it already. Chelvin waiting around for it as well. They are going to come in, take that juicy experience, and move on in to that power-up punch is the thing we've seen over and over again here. Actually does go to extreme speed this time, so a little bit different to the last few games he's been going. And we do see Bees get mopped up real quick. Toon involved here as well as Lutano. The same strats that we've been seeing over these first few games here. And now looks like the pair are peeling down into the jungle here to try and deal with some more Corefish.
Yeah, that extreme speed critical in big team fights, and Sixie is going to be able to use it a little bit here. Toon and Indy. Indy's still a Gossifleur, not an Eldegoss yet, and that's going to be an issue, but they're able to peg that down, and of course, Indy Bear, the last shot god, we've seen it before. We just saw it again, taking a KO there on Sixies as the Eldegoss. They're going to go back upstairs, take a look, see what's going on below, and more points in for Lutano as Sixies is just trying to catch back up and stem a little bit of that top goal bleeding.
Yeah, not too much action here. There is a Corefish for him to take. It looks like Chelvin is going to come in and help a little bit here as well, as we are seeing a bit of a mobilization coming down in that bot lane for all the defenders and support roles. Lutano still getting in the mix here, getting a bit of damage in, but not quite enough. Does get out of that alive, so they can focus in on the APOM here. Do take it for themselves, and they're going to keep Lutano off that juicy experience.
They're heading downstairs, but, Sixies and Chelvin not able to put too much on Lutano, as Lutano was able to steal the APOM from Sixies there, and they're hiding in the grass, maybe making it look like they're going to make a move down to Dreadnought, but really hiding out to see if they can pick up a couple ganks, maybe close out this goal zone, and that's Toon getting caught with their pants down as Zervis comes in and helps close the door with the Cinderace Chelvin there, and Sixies going straight back up for the Bees. Lutano on the backside of the top lane, we just saw them. They're going for the score, saying, I'm not going to get any of these Bees, so I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to get that attack weight damage up. Now, Sixies seeing as their opportunity to get some points in, and they're going to go for it.
Yep, they scored the 13 quite nicely. As you see, their own team are pressing quite aggressively as Dreadnought is coming into the mix now. So Sixies does have to work their way down. Lutano doing the exact same thing here to see if they can get the last vital hits in, as Dreadnought is going to start getting engaged here. By the looks of things, TTV are being very aggressive here, pushing back Apes Unleashed to their own area here and away from that Dreadnought. It's not being engaged just yet. Looks like the team fight is still the main priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Apes Unleashed kind of stuck in their own goal zone here, and RUSHgg pays the price on behalf of TTV, but maybe just the window that they needed, and Goof putting a lot of pressure on Sixies, making them retreat into the goal zone, not getting able to get too close to the turtle, who has just leashed back and healed themselves back up all the way. So Dreadnought feeling real good right now, as now maybe the opening that Apes Unleashed needed to get back into this thing, since TTV didn't close the door on it, and that's a little Sixies taking down Lucario, as now the Dreadnought is being burned down. RUSHgg coming with the heavy slam, and let's see who takes it. That is in fact Toon on behalf of TTV, exactly how it went down in game 3. So certainly not an indication of an impending loss here, but definitely not something you'd like to see.
Looks like TTV are also going to get their goals in, try and make the most of those shields. Big defense by Apes Unleashed. They're all coming down south. Even a Unite move that actually hits the target perfectly. Real clean KO there from Sixies. Very nice. Couple KOs actually. And it's going to get punished by Goof here, trying to take them away from those Ordino, but is still going to take the KOs here. And again, Sixies being left kind of on his own here as the rest of the team wrap more towards the north here, trying to engage that Rotom potentially, or at least force Lutano to defend against it.
Goof got a little stuck there, and Sixies completes the attack with Zervis in support, as they were through a Leaf Tornado to give a little pep in Sixies' step to be able to catch up to Goof and close the door on them. And now Sixies is just going to farm these bottom lane TTV mobs here, as Goof is like, I just have to get one, and they didn't even. Goof trying to put some pressure on. Hopefully they don't over pursue this time, because it cost them on that last time. Zervis going in, and I think I just saw them bust their Unite move out to try and send TTV scrambling. Sixies still focused on leveling up as they're checking the map, and Rotom is won by Apes Unleashed. That's going down the lane. Yeah,
looking real good for them. Looks like TTV are going to still try and engage that team fight. They are going to, by the looks of things, take out that goal zone as well. But they are just ignoring Rotom, which has made its way to the goal zone itself. So could be a bit of easy counterplay there. But looks like TTV are still desperately trying to slow down Apes Unleashed here from that goal zone, not making the Rotom count outside of the experience that they do gain. And once again, it's a wrap down south so that they can go for the Dreadnought at this stage. Looks like Sixies is getting fruity in the middle here. Big KO on a couple Pokemon here, taking out Greninja as well as Sylveon, and they're actually wrapping back up top to maybe get some more points in.
Yeah, Goof and Toon, they're going down to both Chelvin and Sixies, and I think a little bit of Pikachu action in as well, and that's Chelvin taking down Dreadnought while Sixies peels back up and gets some points in, so kind of splitting the difference there and getting the best of both worlds, having their cake and in fact eating it too.
Yeah, looking really interesting. That sort of mid area where they were all kind of like peeling together. It's like, shouldn't we be fighting right now? Oh yeah, we should. Let's KO each other. And that's worked out real well for Apes Unleashed. Sixies helping out Pikachu as well, get some extra experience and coming back into the middle area here. You have to feel that with these shields right now and the slight level advantage, they have to be in a bit of a better position here. So they are sort of gearing up to defend the middle by the looks of things.
Yeah, something I want to note, Indy, the Eldegoss had to use their Unite move to retreat with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, and that's never a good look when that's something you want to keep for those last 2 minutes here. Sixie's going to jump down, trying to get into the mix. Goof GG makes it out. Lutano's pressured, and Toon on the ropes. Toon tries to back out. Sixie's tries to make a play on them, but is forced to just retreat a little bit, doesn't overcommit, seeing that there's 2 minutes and 39 seconds on the clock. Not a good time to go down, not a rinse repeat of game 2. We know how that went, and that answer is poorly. Here we go. Apes Unleashed smoking down this Rotom, and that's a heavy slam by ZUGRUGG. Their timing a little off again as they are too early, and it's sent down the lane for Apes Unleashed. And Toon goes down for that effort. ZUGRUGG still up and still rolling around, getting leashed 2 players, Talibobo and the Eldegoss there, getting the chase on, and finally a KO on Toon as they're able to just get a ton of points into this second layer goal zone.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of points coming in. Apes Unleashed definitely ahead right now, and even Lucario can get involved and destroy the goal zone at the end there, but they have to re-avert their attention to the middle here as Zapdos is being engaged very aggressively by TTV.
2 players down for Apes Unleashed, and now the game is on. Talibobo comes in. They used a Unite move. That's Pikachu Unite move. Pikachu takes it. And despite having 2 players down, they're able to put the pressure on. 3 KOs for Apes Unleashed onto TTV. Indy Bear's getting chased. Sixies eats them up. And here we go. Zante and Sixies going to make a race to try and get their points in. Minute 30 and still a decent amount on the clock. Talibobo gets their points in. No worries there. They're going to go back and play some defense for certain. Sixies looking to see what they can do, and that's just a back as Zante is going to go back to Pikachu and Talibobo as well, and now they just have to play some defense, some clean defense on these goal zones. That's kind of the order of the day and what you expect to see when you're in the lead and you convert on Zapdos.
Man, Zante with a clutch KO. Looks like TTV were about to take it from under Apes Unleashed, who have been ahead of the game for a long time, but a big team fight won by TTV. They all pile in on Zapdos. They commit to that line, but Zante with a big steal, and that's why you see such a big difference in the scores here. It could easily have been a different outcome there. TTV were piling in and were so close to taking that big goal, but like you said, when Zapdos is just taken away from you, there goes their win condition.
Absolutely. TTV came in. They saw the 2 players were down on Apes Unleashed. Unfortunately, the 3 players that were left all had their Unite move. Sixies didn't need to use theirs. However, Zante and Talibobo both using their Unite moves with Zapdos at 1/3 HP with everybody attacking. It's kind of a coin flip. But if it's a coin flip, there's a way you can kind of hedge a little bit, and that's by using those big-time Unite moves.
Yeah, absolutely huge. And it means that we're at 2 games apiece here, coming down to the final 5th game to see who is going to be our champions.
TTV on the ropes. I don't think they've been in this type of position before. Certainly not up 2-0 and then on the verge of getting reverse swept. Apes Unleashed trying to make history in the very young time span that Pokemon Competitive Unite has been a thing by reverse sweeping the best team in the world, TTV. Sinister Cup number 2, presented by RUSHgg, Kirk, doobsnax, Dubé, Joe, OmniJoe, Bernard. Game 5 is on its way. Buckle up.